Hi there, I'm Cathi Barker from Software Solutions, and you're looking at one of a collection of videos to do with our Microsoft Excel Essentials course. This particular video is going to have a look at functions, the built-in functions that come with Excel. What I'd like to do here is I'd actually like to click maybe over here in H15. And with regards to built-in functions, we are looking at least 514. That gives you some perspective as to how powerful Excel is in terms of its ability to calculate results and analyze data. Now, of those 514, I would like to look at sum, average, max, min, count, and count blank, and start you on this journey of learning functions in Excel, which is going to help you analyze results. Let's look at the sum function. It is the most common function of all. Now, there's a huge variety of ways that you can insert functions into a spreadsheet, and I'm not about teaching all the different ways of inserting a function. I'm about teaching you the best way to insert a function. And I'd argue that the best way to insert a function is to press the equals key and press the first letter of what the function begins with, in this case, S. When you do so, what you do is you trigger Excel to show you all the functions in Excel that begin with S out of the 514 minimum number of functions. And look how many there are. There's just a ton of them. This is a powerful program. So if I went down to SU, then these are the functions that begin with SU in Excel, and here is sum. Now the idea is if you click once, you get a little tooltip that briefly explains what the function does. So the sum function adds all the numbers in a range of cells. Instead of me going B4 plus B5 plus B6 plus B7 plus B9 plus B10 plus B11, it's much quicker to just double click sum and select the numbers. Now, when it comes to selecting the numbers, don't click, just swing straight over the range. Swing straight down and select the range, in this case, B4 to B13. So I'm wanting to sum up that range of numbers, and I don't worry about closing the brackets because I know Excel will do it for me. And so the less intervention or interfering we do, probably the better, the less chance of error. So I just press enter. And so the sum of those cells, B4 to B13, is 510.5. Now, if I wanted to check that, I'm just casting you all the way back to video 1. You could highlight this range of cells and you could look at the bottom of your screen where it tells you the sum of the selected cells is 510.5. So that answer is correct. Let's look at another function. I'm going to click below my sum function. I want to do an average. Average begins with equals AV. And here are the 5 functions in Excel that begin with AV. Now, if I click on average, again, it gives me a description that returns the average, the arithmetic mean of its arguments, which are numbers, which must be numbers or names, blah, blah, blah. So that's the average. Basically, it adds them all up and divides them by how many there are. So let's double click average. Then I just swing straight over the cells that I want to average. It'll add those numbers all up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers will get added up, and that total will be divided, which is 510.5, will be divided by 9 numbers, which gives you an average of 56.72222. Now, if I went to swing over these cells, and again look at the bottom of my screen, 56.7222222 is the average of the selected cells. Now I want to know what's the largest number in that range, and these numbers could change. So I need it to return the largest number in that range at any point in time. That's a function called max, which is short for maximum, equals M. When I click on max, this returns the largest value in a set of values. So I double click max and I swing over the cells I want it to look at, and then I just press enter. And the maximum or the largest value in that range is clearly 200. Underneath that, I want to know what was the smallest number at any point in time, equals M, and I go for min, which, as the tooltip describes, returns the smallest number in a set of values. So I'll double click min, and I'll swing over the set of cells that I want it to look at. As soon as I press enter, it tells me the smallest number in that range is -10. And then I'm thinking, in those cells, how many numbers are there? So I don't have to keep counting them visually. Count equals COU. Count counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. That's exactly what I want. So I double click count, I swing over these cells, and it's going to give me the count of B4 to B13. So I press enter. So in these 10 cells, there are 9 numbers. So how many are blank? I mean, I can clearly see that, but you've got to imagine this data is going to change, and I need those updated, those results updated as a consequence. So I'm going to now use a count blank function, equals COU, and count blank. Counts the number of empty cells in a range of cells. So I double click count blank, saves me a lot of typing, and I swing over these cells, so it looks at B4 to B13, and I press enter. And it says there's still one cell in that range that's blank. So I can clearly see they've filled in 9, but one of those cells is still blank. If I went over here and actually put something in here, I would affect the sum, the average, potentially the max and min, but definitely the count and the count blank. So let's say I went for a new big number. So I'm going to go for 300. 300 has immediately lifted my total by 300, lifted my average, given me a new maximum of 300, but I have the same minimum of -10. Now I have 10 numbers and 0 blank cells. If I go undo, it goes back to the results it had before. If I press my button we added to our quick access toolbar earlier to show formulas, if you didn't do the earlier video, please have a look at the video. But this will show the formulas that I have in my spreadsheet. Let me just narrow that. And so I can clearly say I've got the sum, the average, the max, the min, the count, and the count blank of the ranges B4 to B13. And as I click on these cells, I can see what range it's working with. It's a really good button because it also allows you to quickly see if there's any inconsistencies. By turning this button on, you get an overview, and it's really easy to see if one of the formulas is inconsistent. Then I'll turn it off, and I'll go back to seeing the answers. So those are 6 of the built-in functions in Excel. And now what I'd like to do is do some exercises to put all this theory that we've learnt into practice. So join us for that video. Like or subscribe.